Food and weight obsession can be exhausting. Losing weight, gaining weight, dieting, feeling like a failure because you missed a workout, binged, overate, or gained all the weight back. The cycle is endless and it can be maddening. But I'm here to say you can stop the mental madness. You can take back control of your food behaviors, but you have to face your fears, you have to ask for help, and make a change. I am Leslie M. Thornton, permanent weight loss coach from hpwl.co. This is Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss, and I know you can make this happen. On this podcast, you will hear how to stop the mental madness, love your body, trust your food decisions so you can create a life of happiness, freedom, and inner peace. Let's talk about eating sweets without guilt and shame. Leslie M. Thornton, Hypnosis for Permanent Weight Loss. Who here listening can say that you can eat sweets or any other foods without any guilt and shame at any point in time? I know from experience that any time that I used to eat a sweet, especially after I was highly trained in diet mentality, and I find that the more that you've dieted in the past, the more that you've done Weight Watchers, the more that you have done, any of the things, any fasting or any juicing, or have researched or studied or any kind of dieting at all, that your brain is 100% wired to now focus and see the foods that you eliminated in order to lose weight in the past as your worst enemy, as the devil, as terrifying, as if I eat this, something terrible is going to happen. I'm going to gain weight. I'm going to get diabetes. I'm going to have high blood pressure. I'm going to have a heart attack. I'm going to have a stroke. And the list goes on. And then what happens is, because you now have created this demon out of this food, then the stress and anxiety and the pressure you place on yourself to not eat this food and those uncomfortable feelings that you feel makes you kind of go insane. To be honest, it makes you feel like you're absolutely insane. It makes you feel crazy. And eventually you just can't handle it anymore and you kind of fall apart. And maybe you end up eating all the sweets, or maybe you have absolutely no energy left. You're in a bad mood. You're isolating yourself. Like, it just crumbles on itself. I get where you're at. I've been there. You have absolutely no idea, unless you've been listening to this podcast for a very long time, how much I understand that. I'm talking locking the snack cabinet so I wouldn't eat anything in there while my boyfriend was at work and breaking in anyway. I'm talking going into his brother's room, who was living with us at the time, and finding the sweets that he had and eating it and not telling him that I ate them. And then his siblings saying, "Oh my gosh, how did you eat all these sweets already?" And he said, "I didn't." And it was me. And I never said it was me. That is weird. That is such strange behavior, you know? I was never like a huge fast food person, but I definitely hid the wrappers. I definitely have taken food out of the trash before. What else had I done? Definitely had acted like I was perfect at parties and like ate perfectly out. And then as soon as I would be on the way home, I would make stops and get a whole bunch of junk food and eat a lot of it. I would take food home from the restaurant and like only eat half and be good at the restaurant, only to come home and eat the entire thing as soon as I walked in the door. Raise your hands if you've ever done any of these things before. And I just want to let you know that you're not alone and it's not your fault that this is happening. And there is absolutely a way out of this behavior. Like, it makes me feel stressed even thinking about it, because it was a terrible, terrible, terrible time. It was a terrible, terrible, terrible time. And it got worse after I dieted. It got worse after, I totally bought into the fact that I was a food addict. I did a food addiction program that was a derivative of Food Addicts Anonymous, and man, did that mess my brain up. Like, your brain will get totally organized to be in diet mentality following a diet, but when you enter a food addiction program or Overeaters Anonymous or a derivative, it gets even more extreme because they put fear into you about what happens when you ingest these things. And the amount of panic that I felt after I ate a sweet, after I ate one thing off my food plan, it was insane. It was so painful. Um, yeah, I mean, I've talked about this so much, but when it comes to this, it's like, it's first, the reason I'm sharing all this is like, number one, I just want you to understand that, like, the reason that some people struggle with this stuff and some people don't, right? And obviously, if you're listening to this long, you do struggle with this. And that used to be, that would kill me. It'd be like, how come like I was just born with this like terrible plague and no one else is? What's wrong with me? Why can't I get past this? Like I'm succeeding in every other aspect of my life, but this I just can't do. Um, and to have the understanding that because I started dieting at such a young age, 8 years old, that set me up. It set my brain patterns up to constantly focus on the right thing to do for my weight, the wrong thing to do, the bad thing that's going to happen, the scale and what's the right weight I'm supposed to weigh and what's the wrong weight I'm supposed to weigh and what's the way that I'm supposed to look in a photograph and what size clothing am I supposed to be wearing since I'm the height that I am. You know, like it's like we start to just be hyper focused on this stuff. And whether it was later in life, maybe after you had pregnancies or, you know, whatever, or it's just been since menopause, or it's been, you know, since a divorce or a major life event later in life, and maybe you didn't struggle with stuff super early, like it's just whenever you start to really focus on it. And it's like the more you know, the worse it can actually get in time. And everybody's on a different pathway for this. So there was times in my life. So I mean, I became a nurse because of my obsession with my own health. I became a personal trainer because of how much I was in the gym myself. And so for a while it was just like, oh, I'm just a health conscious person, like, you know, and oh, all this kind of, you know, whatever. And I just like working out. But then eventually it escalated into like, this is not good anymore. And it was like the more I knew, the kind of worse that it got. I also see a lot where if clients have had parents pass away or family members who died suddenly from what our society says is always because of weight. I mean, the medical system blames every single health issue on our weight. And that's also a really unfortunate thing because it for people like us who are already weight conscious and like constantly thinking about this, to then add the pressure of like you're going to die if you don't lose weight is like the worst thing for us. It backfires every time. That pressure is insane. It's really unfortunate. It's why I left nursing. It's why I left working as a surgical and neuro ICU nurse and a kidney transplant nurse, because I saw that surgeons and the hospital in general just had absolutely no idea about the mental and emotional components that go along with losing weight and the diet mentality. And if we don't have that compassion and we just have more fear added on to what we're already scared about, again, it's just setting ourselves up for this natural disaster. Like, I get it, it's insane, it's so painful. I have clients all the time who they still go to the doctor and like they're bracing themselves because they're so scared of what they say or what they're gonna say. And because we're already putting ourselves in enough of a pressure cooker, people that resonate with this podcast do, right? You're already saying what's wrong with you and why can't you stay consistent and why, like, you know, you shouldn't be eating that. You shouldn't be doing this. Why are you doing this? But then you eat it and then you're like, okay, well, it feels so good while I'm eating it, but now I'm pissed that I ate it because it wasn't even that satisfying. Okay, I'm not going to eat anymore at least, and tomorrow I'm going to be better. And then before you know it, you're back up and you're grabbing something else again. Like, what the heck? Like that is absolutely maddening. Like I always say, like it's just, it's insane. So, how do we get past this? Well, you need to learn how to eat foods again, or maybe for the very first time, including sugar, including carbs, including whatever, and not experience the guilt and shame after you're doing it. How do we do that? Well, we actually need to introduce some of those foods that you're scared of eating. And I know for me, but no, Leslie, I really want to lose weight. Yes, I get it. And I want you to lose weight too. If you want to do a crash diet, if you want to get the same result you've always gotten in the past, where you've lost weight successfully, you can get down maybe 10 pounds, maybe 20 pounds. But then what happens? Eventually it's back up again. You're miserable again. You're trying to figure it out again. Your brain is swirling again. So that's, you've done it many times and you can do it. And if it feels right for you to do that again right now, then do it. Like I said, it's like there's a journey that you go on with it. But at some point, you get to the end of your rope. It's like, what the heck is up with this? Like, why? Like, I don't want to be dealing with this anymore. And it wasn't until I met someone who was a food addict, self-declared food addict, and was a binger and a purger and like extreme, everything. And like now she's a normal eater. And I was like, if she can do it, why wouldn't I be able to do this? And then, and that's all that it is belief system, right? So, um, the process of learning how to achieve food freedom is for someone, it depends on, where you're at. But for me, who I was in the extreme side of this, it was not easy. It was emotional. It was painful. It was like, I never want to sugarcoat it, pun intended. Um, because it's a lot. But consider that by not doing it, you're suppressing all the emotionality that has you either diet chronically or overeat chronically. It's like you're basically trying to hold a beach ball underneath the water for your entire life. But eventually it's like, what's going to happen? Like your arms are going to fatigue and it's going to pop and smack you in the face. So it's like, we need to teach you how to swim on your own without hanging onto the beach ball. What if you could just swim on your own and enjoy the beautiful pool without needing a flotation device? What if you were in one of those, whatever it is, what is it, the Black Sea that's full of salt so that you actually just float when you're in there? I was actually in a lake. I can't remember where I was. That was so salty. I think it was the Indian Ocean. It was when I was in India. I went swimming. It was in Australia and you were floating. Anyway, like, what if you could actually have an experience that around food issues, around food in general, right? Like, anytime you're around food, whether it's in your house or out of your house or whatever, you could just float. Like, you could just easily float, and the salt also pulls up on you. Like, you have support. And here's the thing is that we use dieting as being that support system. It's like, oh, well, let me just like cling to this diet and then I will. But again, that's you're clinging to the beach ball. Like it's not, it's an external thing. We have to do the internal work to actually have it so that you can enjoy and for a lifetime. You can enjoy everything that goes around food and body and health and all the things for an absolute lifetime without any stress about it. Yeah. And it's just like, oh my gosh, it was so worth all of that. But I was really done, and you just really need to be in a space where you just feel really done with like same old results and like a commitment to living a better life. So, with every client that we work with, as far as like being able to eat foods without guilt and shame, it's different. Some people are risk takers like I was and rip the band-aid off fast and they just go for it and say like, okay, I have permission to eat these things and thank hallelujah. Yeah, if you haven't heard my interview that I had with a client a few months ago, her name was Carol, and she talks about the food freedom she got quick and she ripped the band-aid off quickly. Okay. But for some people, it's scarier, and it's like, no, I don't want to do that. And that's fine. And I just let them know that there will always be the diet mentality. You're still kind of hanging on to something if you're still just really focusing on, let me calibrate what I'm eating and how I'm eating. Now, it doesn't mean that we want you to just go and, binge and eat all this kind of stuff, but there can be a period of time, of healing time, where as you bring back the foods that you previously have labeled as terrible, demon, wrong, and bad, um, that you may eat too much of them initially, but eventually, I hear clients say, I just had a client this past week say, like, oh, if you bring Oreos in the house, I'm going to eat the absolute whole thing. Maybe, like maybe for the first couple times, but like if you do it if you know that like I'm doing this to actually support myself to have a lifetime of freedom around Oreos, then like, and that's up to every individual person and how they want to go about it. But like if you never feel safety around food entirely, it's like, then I mean, we're not actually living life. Then you're going to be running away from Oreos your whole life and hoping you never see them but it's just the fear and anxiety. So if you can just feel the fear and anxiety about Oreos, or the anxiety about donuts, or the anxiety about whatever, fill in the blank, you can like feel it, and like actually like you might even be emotional about it. Like, oh, you might actually be so scared that you could cry because you literally think you will just eat and eat and eat and eat and never, never, never stop. Like, I get it. And I had that experience. I literally thought I was a food addict and I could absolutely not control myself, but when I gave myself full permission to eat it, and I just got support with the guilty feelings I had and the shame that I felt for eating it and the amount of bad I was putting on the food mentally. And I use all the tools, right? The heal method, hypnosis, emotional mastery, those main two were the ones I could focus on at first, and kept in mind my commitment to like, I want food freedom for the rest of my life. So therefore, if it's temporary pain, if it's temporary weight gain, I'm okay with it. I believe that my body will balance out. And even if on the days that were hard, that I didn't believe it, I leaned on my coach and asked for help, because that's what coaching is for. As I had doubts, I had fears. I was like, how could this be right? This is so not good. How could you tell me that eating Oreos is okay? Like, do you know the nutritional value of Oreos? It's like, and they'd be like, yeah, I get it. And then, so, and I knew so much science about how everything affected my body. So it was like, I knew, what gluten could do in my body, right? The inflammation and how that could lead to disease. Like, I knew all of that. And so I said that to them. I was like, I know that my body doesn't respond well to gluten. And their response to me was, will you go into anaphylactic shock if you eat it? No. Like, then your body can actually tolerate it. Like, you don't have a gluten allergy and therefore you can eat it. And that was hard for me, and it's like really challenging to flip that script. But again, it's the commitment to the new vision, the new dream. There's, in neurolinguistic programming studies that I do, when we're changing our values, it gets harder before it gets easier and we get to a higher plane. Right. So it's like we get support as it gets hard. And then we get to that higher tier of like, ooh, okay, now I'm in a different land. And now I can, work on a different area of my life. As many of you might have heard, I, then moved into the money frontier, and I moved into the relationship frontier. But like, I wasn't going to be able to fully get to those frontiers in ways that were so fulfilling, if I didn't heal past the food thing, because that was what was up for me at the time. And whatever part of your path you're on, it's like whatever feels like the thing that's keeping you up at night, stressing you out, like work on that, like focus on that thing, because it's taking away your ability to be present and to, you know, live your life according to how it's meant to be for you, and what's really for you. It's completely clouding your ability to enjoy. So for some people, you could do this on your own. I personally, every time that I tried to eat carbs or sweets by myself, when I was heavily from diet mentality, I would freak out. I might be okay for a day or two, but eventually I'd be panicking and right back on the diet again because of some sign of weight gain or whatever. My bowel movement would be off. Like, just all those triggers were insane for me. But yeah, you can try it and, focus on like letting yourself eat something, and then just like, how can you breathe through the guilt and the fear and the shame and know like this too shall pass. Um, yeah. And then if you'd feel like you can't do that, but you want to get to where I'm at today, which is happiness, joy, inner peace, can eat anything at any time. I eat like a normal person eats. I have no issues. My weight has been literally the same. I've actually recently lost some weight, but that's not from trying. That's again from just focusing on being present and what's feeling good to me. But initially my weight went up, when I was first doing this process. That's not the same. Typical weight loss for my clients is 10 pounds in 8 weeks, but it really depends on where you're coming in at. If you're already overweight, then chances are you'll go down or stay the same. If you're super skinny, chances are your weight will probably go up a bit, which is terrifying. It was for me. I hated every second of it. I was not happy, but I always knew where I was headed, and I had support and guidance. Yeah. So the goal is to get to that space. Now, why? And this is the last thing that I'll say, because I actually have to jump off for a call. When you can master getting over the guilt and shame, you actually will start to eat in a more balanced way automatically. You will then be able to kind of automatically get to what the food pyramid is, right? Of like, oh, you're only supposed to have a tiny little bit of sugar, and then you're supposed to have this much meat and protein and this much vegetables and fruit, right? Like, I literally eat that way now for the most part. Sometimes I don't, but I automatically kind of eat that way now. But it's because I got past the guilt and shame, right? Because now I'm able to be present and be like, oh, I literally can have anything that I want. I face all these fears. I'm not guilty if I eat it. I'm not bad if I eat this. I'm not wrong if I eat this. I'm not going to die if I eat this. Now, do I want to eat this? And it's like, not really, because it doesn't really feel great. Like, I want to feel energized and whatever. So then I don't. So it is just, if you can get over that hump of feeling guilty and shameful when you do eat any of sweets, carbs, etc., you're going to have a more balanced way of eating overall. And it's a really beautiful, amazing space to be in. And I hope this is helpful. So we'll see you for the next episode. Please, if you can, like and comment and subscribe and all the things. Please share this podcast with someone that you know. If you have a dieting accountability buddy and they need to hear this message, please share it. The only more people that can know that there's a way out and a freedom around food, body, and weight issues, the better for our world. So thanks so much, and see you for the next one. If you are serious about taking action on your struggle with food, body, and weight, then this is for you. Go ahead and text the word hypnosis to 855-BE-ALIVE. That's 855-232-5483. Immediately after texting that number, you will get access to our free training that will tell you why you can't figure the food, body, and weight thing out, why you can't keep weight off even after you've been successful in the past, and how to actually overcome it, including a mini hypnosis session at the end. Don't miss out. Text the word hypnosis to 855-BE-ALIVE. That's 855-232-5483.